It is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to our friends over at Factors. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, intern Tommy along for the ride as well. Hope everybody had a good, safe holiday weekend out there. It is great to be back. You look rejuvenated. You look happy. You look, I don't know, different.
Am I glowing?
You are. You're glowing a little.
I'm glowing a little bit. I had a great weekend, see Rose. A lot of baseball. I was traversing back and forth from Manhattan Beach to Simi Valley and Camarillo for my son's tournament, which the SoCal Padres did not perform in this tournament. It was a tough one for them, but they gave their all, and it was still fun to go watch them play. They played some better competition than they've been facing before, and so I think, Chris, this is great for them because now they're like, dang, we got to step it up a little bit.
Yeah.
No, so this is good to get beat.
It is. Those Memorial Day tournaments are fun across Southern California. I, too, did a little baseballing, hung out with my Guardians in Anaheim on Saturday. It was great to see our buddy Austin Hedges and Stephen Vogt and a bunch of the other players out there. Very cool. Good experience.
My friend Ollie.
Yeah, I ran into Ollie. That was awesome. God, he's got a cute kid. Holy smokes.
Yeah, Kingston.
Awesome little dude. Quick reminder, we are presented to you by Factor. By Thursday, get your Factor question of the weekend so we can use it on Friday's show. Last Friday's was very interesting. Caught a little bit off guard, but that's what makes it fun around here. All right, we got a ton to cover. We're going to get to an umpire retiring, a star, unfortunately, out for the rest of the year. Quick tip of the cap, though. Baltimore Orioles have won 5 in a row to help kick off that win streak in Chicago. Colton Counsell snagging the 27th out of the game, stealing a home run from Tommy Pham. We all remember what happened in Kansas City when he caught the last out of a game when Kimbrel tied, I think it was Billy Wagner on the saves list. He threw the ball in the fountain and got a lot of grief. Craig Kimbrel afterward, he said, hey, you keep that one. I love that. That was a good callback by Kimbrel.
I love this. There's so much emotion in that clip we just showed. Counsell, the raw emotion from understanding he just won the game with that. You see Craig Kimbrel being like, thank goodness for Counsell out there. Then Tommy Pham looking as dejected as possible. I love it for Counsell because he's been really struggling with the bat as of lately. Chris Rose, remember his April was nuts.
Yep.
May has not been good for him offensively, but to separate the offense from the defense like that and go win a game for your team, woo! No better feeling.
Yeah. Good stuff. Unfortunately, this is not good stuff that we start with. Ronald Acuna, done for the year for the second time in the last 4 seasons. An ACL non-contact injury does him in. Reigning NL MVP. He has not been great this year, but without a question, he is the undisputed offensive leader and the engine that makes this team go. Here's his teammates.
Broken, For him to go through this again, I know it's hard. It's not something easy.
It's a huge hit to this team and just the kind of player he is and what he does for us.
I feel like when you think of the Atlanta Braves, people think of Ronald. He's our leadoff hitter. When he goes, we go.
Worse for the kid than for us, just that he's got to go through this again.
For those of you that are joining us audio only, that was Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris II, Sean Murphy, and, of course, Snit there at the end. And I want to start with what Snit said, because I think so often we think about, well, what does this mean for our team, the Atlanta Braves? And what does this mean for my fantasy team and things like that? And that's natural, right? If you care about baseball, we forget because now he's going to go away. We won't see him for a while. He has to go through all this stuff by himself for the second time in 4 seasons. And I'm sure there's part of him that's wondering what type of player I will be when I return from a second major surgery like this. This has got to be a really, really difficult time for him as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, anything like this, like an injury of this magnitude, it's career trajectory changing. It's I've spoken about this quite a bit on this show when we talk about these injuries. I mean, there's nothing more lonely than being on the injured list, especially if it's all year. You're going to require surgery, you're going to rehab that. Like, a lot of that is just like on your own. Like, yeah, you got some trainers around you, but you're not with the team. You don't feel like you're part of the team as much as the guys want, to be there in the dugout, and they say, "Oh yeah, this is our guy." Like, you're not part of the team, man. You're not helping anything. On the field. So you start to go to these places, where's my worth in all of this? Like, Like, what am I bringing to the table? I mean, baseball is what, I mean, I can speak just for myself. I'm sure Ronnie kind of feels the same way. Like, that's your identity, man. Like, I'm a baseball player, and he's an MVP. Like, his worth was way more than what I was worth to his franchise and to his organization, to the fan base. And now you're just not able to give any of that back. And it's just a really, really lonely feeling. It's really the only time I've ever struggled with, mental health or, depression. It's like that. It was in times like that. And I never had an injury that took me out an entire year like that. So I do feel for him a ton. And yeah, he wasn't off to a great start this year. Still stealing bags, still a part of the team, still contributing. They mentioned, heart and soul of the team. He's still an imposing figure. Teams have to game plan around him. There's a lot of things that you still bring to the table. And then you expected him, just like most of the Atlanta offense, you expect those guys to get going at some point. They're just too good of players to kind of, keep that level of play going. But it's going to be, I will say this, as difficult as it's going to be for him, he has now an idea of what it's going to take. And it sucks, but now he at least has a better idea of, okay, what can I do differently to make this a better rehab situation? And then he just kind of knows the ins and outs of it. But we're all, I know that I am, and I know you are too, just sending, good vibes and best wishes his way, because it's going to be difficult for him to just sit there and go through all this again.
It's interesting, I think, to see how much he has. I don't know if he's changed as a baseball player. He's become more defined, I think, and refined. I think as just a kid that kind of grew up in front of our eyes, where there were the times that we were talking about stuff other than his amazing play on the field. And that has totally dissipated and gone away. And you could see the outpouring of emotion from the baseball community in general. I was on social media, and there's Phillies fans and Mets fans who were like, this sucks. That's when you know you've really made it. Like, when the teams that are supposed to despise you are like, this sucks. And, man, I wish him well. It's not going to be easy. I also saw somebody make an interesting comparison, and there's a lot of our listeners that probably it's not going to click with them, but I'll hopefully try and help you out a little bit. It was the Eric Davis comparisons. For people that didn't know much about Eric Davis, he was a guy that came up in the Cincinnati Reds outfield in the 80s. He was a center fielder, and there were people right off the bat comparing him to Willie Mays. He was that talented. We're talking about the ability to hit the ball over the fence. He was a string bean. He wasn't a big guy at all, but he could run. He'd get you past 60, 70 bases, and then he just started breaking down. And he was a different player. He still had an outstanding career. But it was on one, you mentioned the word trajectory. It was on one path, and then all of a sudden it took a detour. And I'm hoping it doesn't go this way for Ronald Acuna. I would love to see him get back to what he was in 2023. But you wonder, with ACLs now on both knees, what does that do to his ability to steal bags or desire to do it when he comes back, whether that's at some point next year or the year after that? I don't know.
100%, because it looked like, Chris, and I was talking about this on Talking Baseball with Jake, it looked like he was going to steal third, like on a throwback from the catcher. Obviously, he's been an ultra aggressive base runner, and now like you almost have to tone it back, even if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. There's no way after a second one that you can say, I need to continue to be as aggressive on the base pass. It's just seemingly not worth it. And he seems like a guy that's probably predisposed to like ligament injuries. So you really have to sit down and say, hey, if I want to stay on the baseball field and help my team, like, I have to tone it back. And it's not easy. Like, that's who you are as a player. Now you have to completely change it. In Minnesota, we talk about that with Byron Buxton all the time. But he's going to have to make some difficult choices and some difficult adjustments to his game, because he's so important that you want him on the field. I mean, I say that, and the guy had one, and then he came back and stole 70 bases. I don't know. I just think that eventually you got to change it up.
Yeah, it's something we're going to have to keep our eye on. All right, very quickly from the Braves standpoint, they're 6 back of the Phillies as action starts on Tuesday. They've already lost, arguably their best pitcher in Spencer Strider for the year. Now Acuna. Let's remember when he got hurt in July of 2021, they went and they revamped their entire outfield and their bullpen. by the way, and ended up winning the World Series for the first time since '95. Is that the route that Alex Anthopoulos is going to have to go now, in your opinion?
Well, I don't think he's going to have to go and get 3 guys. They got Jock, Eddie Rosario, and Soler at that time.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have to go do that. But we know that Anthopoulos is a very, he can make moves when he needs to, and he's very good at what he does. He's maybe the best executive in all of baseball. So I expect him, to be on the lookout. This is the Braves season. This is not like a season over thing for them whatsoever. As you just point out, they won the World Series the last time this happened. But yeah, I think that some moves are going to have to be made.
So it sounds like they're going to have like tryouts for the leadoff spot. Yesterday was Ozzie Albies. They said we're not going to put him there full time. And then Adam Duvall got the first crack at replacing Acuna in right, ended up hitting a homer. But we'll see. I mean, they've got a couple of young guys they might be able to rely on. JP Martinez, Forrest Wall. I really don't know much about either of those guys.
Yeah.
Braves fans, you can certainly help us out in the comments section.
And this is a time where, injuries create opportunities. So if you're a guy that was behind Acuna, and now all of a sudden you're getting your opportunity, here it comes.
And would it surprise me if they end up trading for a Tommy Pham or, Rooker or somebody like that? Yes. Yeah. I think, no, it won't surprise me. I think, yes, that's something.
Ooh, a Rooker and Mason Miller package? Okay, Rose, now we're cooking, baby.
Do the Braves still have enough prospects to keep doing that to the A's? I don't know.
I mean, that's been their team. Give me your players.
If you're the A's, don't you hang up?
I don't think so.
Really? All right, let's move on to a story that I think probably shocked everybody in baseball late on Monday. Angel Hernandez is calling it quits. Hernandez has umpired since 1991 at the major league level. I believe he became full-time in 93. The last decade has pretty much been the most recognizable umpire out there, and not for all the great reasons. However, Plouffe, do you think toward the end, because of social media, the treatment of Angel Hernandez was unfair and strictly piling on?
I can see aspects of that for sure. Because as we've seen this year, there has been a ton of bad calls. We just saw the interference call with the Orioles. We saw Ben something or other throw out somebody in the Marlins. There's been a lot of these things going on, but because Angel's been around for so long, I feel like, yes, when he does something, it's talked about way more, and everyone knows his name. And that's kind of that's like his biggest problem, was that before we paid so much attention to the umpires, he still was almost like a household name. Him and Joe West were the two guys that, if you ask people, hey, do you know a major league umpire's name? Those are the two guys they'd probably know. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a problem. I never had a problem with Angel. I understand that, there's been there's a lot of calls and things that, maybe are a little suspect. But I'm not gonna bash the guy, because he was always very nice. I think any player will tell you that. You may not agree with some of the calls, and you might have gotten up in his face, or he might have, you guys might have had an interaction on the baseball field that wasn't pleasant. But the day after that, he was, how you doing? God bless you and your family. Like a very reasonable, level-headed guy. So I don't know, man. Like, am I going to kind of miss Angel Hernandez? I don't think I am, actually, because I thought that about Joe West. I was like, are we going to miss Joe West? And we don't even talk about Joe West anymore. So hopefully, I think for Angel's sake too, hopefully he just kind of fades away into the sunset, goes and bees with his family. That's what he said he wants to do. Just want to go spend more time with my family. Go do that, Angel. I mean, dude, since 91, talking 33 years in the show, like, I'm not going to call it a great career, but that's a long career.
It's a long career. So there's a few things to unpack, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think you can be bad at your job and still be treated poorly. And I think that's exactly what's happened. And I've been part of this. I have been. Now, I don't know if there were specific times where I went on social media and grabbed the low-hanging fruit there and said something about Angel Hernandez. There's a possibility that there's tweets out there. I don't know. I don't remember. But I've certainly been critical of him here, and that's okay, because
sure.
I mean, it's okay to say when a guy stinks. I mean, Bryce Harper has come out and said stuff. CC Sabathia said one year after a playoff game where Angel Hernandez had a bunch of missed calls at first base, I think, that were reviewed and overturned.
Three were overturned, yeah.
Yeah, he CeCe came out and said he cannot be umpiring playoff games. He cannot.
Fair.
And all that stuff is fair. There's no question about it. Do I think it got to the point where it's really uncomfortable? I do. And I think, that's not going to change. I wish I had a better feeling, but because of the advent of social media, umpires and refereeing in all respective sports have taken a brutal, brutal hit. And I've said stuff like the other day, I was at the Guardians game or I was watching one on Sunday and David Fry got called out on a third strike that was this far inside. I mean, it was horrible. And I took the screenshot of where the pitch was and I said something like, I don't think I said in particular who the umpire was, but I said something about it. It just makes it easy for us to all rip on umpires and referees as fans. It really does. And that's not going to change. And people will say, hey, well, they get paid handsomely. You mentioned this on the show last week.
They do.
You said umpires get paid really, really well. And so maybe that's part of it. I do think that some of it is just gotten nasty, just like the rest of the social media world. And I don't know.
That's just a societal problem, not a umpire problem.
And I would agree with you. I just think that this is probably a good opportunity for all of us to take a look and see, can we get our point across without being total assholes?
He's brought it upon himself a little bit. He tried to sue Major League Baseball for keeping him out of the playoffs because he's a minority, when in fact the reason is he just didn't really deserve it.
Right. Well,
this
was thrown out.
It was thrown out, yeah. I talked about this on episodes past and whatever, but I really do believe we need to make each umpire take some sort of test to be able to stay behind the plate. The other bases where you can challenge and it's a little bit easier, let them stay out there till, they go to pasture, for lack of a better term. Behind the plate's a different story, Chris.
Except that Bryce Harper, we just talked about 2 incidents with Angel Hernandez where he wasn't even behind the plate. He was at first base in the Red Sox playoff series on that game. And then he was at third base when Bryce Harper went nuts that one game. So it gets, I think, to a bigger issue, which is, and Rob Manfred addressed this last week. He's like, twice a year, we evaluate our umpires. And then if you're not good enough, you don't get the postseason. That's not good enough, in my opinion. We need to kind of know where everybody stands.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see those evaluations. I think that's what we all want.
And that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, if players aren't good enough, what happens to you guys?
Gone.
If managers aren't winning enough, what happens to them?
Everybody else on the baseball field, if you don't do your job, you're on.
And if you're an umpire and you're not great at your job, it's like you're a tenured professor. I think last week you said a Supreme Court justice, which I loved. Like, it's like you have a job for life, and that's not healthy for the sport. That's not healthy. That's not where we live in a competitive world. It's not like, hey, once you get a gig, you get it forever.
God, I would love that. Jeez.
And then we'll give you a nice watch at the end of your tenure. That's not what sports is about. And so I think that Major League Baseball, and I don't know what the reason is, they're so hesitant to make that part of the game better.
Yeah. I don't know why. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Angel, we wish you well. By all accounts, a very decent human being, not a great umpire. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. If you want to get something off your chest, you want to talk to somebody that's outside of your family or friend structure, that's what you need to do, because we all carry around different issues all the time. Some are huge, some are small, but they can affect us negatively, and it's time to turn that the other direction. Therapy is a safe space to get things off your chest, to figure out how you work through whatever is weighing you down. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. I have told you on this show, I've told you on the Chris Rose Rotation, I am a huge believer in therapy. I've been in and out of it ever since I was a little kid. There wasn't one specific incident that led me to try therapy, but if there is, that's okay as well. My parents always thought it was just good to talk to somebody outside of the family structure, and I've been a big believer in it. And now more so than ever, we need to be doing that, because there is so much that is changing each and every day. The nice thing about BetterHelp is it's entirely online. It is designed to be convenient. It is flexible. It is suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a real brief questionnaire. They're going to match you up with a licensed therapist. Here's the nice thing. If you're not clicking, and it's really important to have a a good relationship with your therapist, you can switch at any time and there is no additional charge. So go get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/baseball today. You're going to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball today. All right, we continue on with the return of Craig Counsell. We talked about this a little bit on Friday's show about what it would look and sound like for the guy who grew up in the Milwaukee area, who has been a part of that organization last 5 years of his playing career and then nearly a decade as a manager where he took them to nearly unprecedented heights. Well, now he returned in Cubs colors with a ton of green in his pocket. And guess what? The Brewers, before first pitch, played a welcome back video, and this is what the reaction sounded like. That is a hearty helping of boos, and they got a shot of Counsell in the dugout, and he's smiling and laughing, saying, they booed me. They booed me. To his credit, he said afterward, hey, listen, they're paying fans. They could do whatever they want. I hope they had a great time. And this was after a Cubs loss against their arch rival, the Milwaukee Brewers. In your opinion, did the Brewers kind of sell him out by just playing a video because they most likely knew what the reaction was going to be?
It's such a difficult thing for this is like the PR / whatever department. They have to decide what to do here. And this guy, like you mentioned, brought a lot of goodwill to Milwaukee. They had some great times with him, as a player and a manager. So Pat Murphy said, he's Milwaukee through and through. So they have to give him some sort of love. But the way he left and who he left to, I wasn't sure. I said on our show, he's going to get some boos, maybe some cheers. And that was not the case. I was dead wrong about that. I'm actually so stoked for Milwaukee that they got together and did this. This is sports, people. This is what you want. You want the passion from the fan base. You want the knowledge from the fan base. I hate when they play cheer now, on the Jumbotron. I hate that, man. I want you to know when to cheer. I want you to know who to boo and why you're booing them. And it seems like in Milwaukee, they had that all figured out. I think everyone was tailgating a little bit too, so they're all riled up. Love that for them. So I don't think they were selling him out. I think they had to put a tribute video to him. He meant too much to the organization not to do that. And pretty much everyone gets a tribute. I even got a tribute video when I went back to Minnesota. So it's everyone kind of gets a tribute video. If you played long enough and had some sort of connection with the fan base, you're going to get a little bit of a video. Shoot, they even played my walkout song when I came back. But I just really enjoyed. I didn't think it was going to happen, but then when I saw the video and heard the boos, I was so excited and happy for Milwaukee. And then they went and beat them, so it was awesome.
Okay, so last week, remember when Francisco Lindor returned to Cleveland, and I was like, God, I'm hoping they don't boo and all that sort of stuff, and they do. And that was different because he got traded. He didn't leave by a free agency. Yeah. Some people were still upset based on it. It was a little weird, the ending and all that, and people saying he chased the money instead of staying. Well, this is a case where Craig Counsell got a major pay raise, and it just so happened to come from the rival that's less than 2 hours down the road. And so I have no problem with the reaction. And by the way, Craig Counsell said, it's not my job to tell people how to feel about something or even figure it out. Let people feel now how they want to feel. I'm good with that. It doesn't all have to be positive. We're in a public job with fans. Fans can feel how they want to feel. And that's it. I don't have a problem with the Brewers playing a video. You're right. We would be like, man, they didn't even play a video for him.
Exactly.
So I'm sure they knew that there were going to be more boos than cheers. I don't think they thought it was going to be that high a percentage in boos.
I don't think anybody thought that.
But it was. No problem with it here. I hope at the end of the day, and it's not going to be by Wednesday, by the end of this series or whatever, but I hope that somewhere down the road that Craig Counsell returns when they're celebrating one of these Brewers teams.
Okay.
15 years down the road, and he comes out of the dugout and he gets cheers, because I think he does deserve that. Right now, I understand it, Brewers fans, but if that were me, I would cheer eventually. Think about your favorite player that maybe left on rocky terms.
Yeah.
But 15 or 20 years later, you're like, oh.
Time heals everything, C-Rose.
Yes.
Let me say this. Two things real quick. Gosh, I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, number one.
Yeah.
Counsell probably was stoked that he got booed like that. They don't boo nobodies. Like to get that reaction, he's like, okay, I had you guys in the palm of my hand. He's got to like that a little bit. Deep down, a little sinister side of all of us is there. He's probably like, heck yeah, man, that's awesome. Number two, put yourself in his shoes, people.
Oh, yeah.
If the difference was like $15-16 million, are you going to stay?
No.
I don't know.
Nope.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if I were Counsell, I would say, okay, yeah, they booed me, and then I would take my phone out and look at my bank account real quick on the app.
A lot of people don't put themselves in the other person's shoes, and if they got put in the same position, and it was like
100%.
stay here for 15 million less. I don't know.
Hey, what was the walk-up song they played for you when you came back to Minnesota?
It's the thuggish, ruggish bone.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It was cool. And then I had a bad game, so like it was all good for the Twins. They won.
Right. But you deserve that. And now look where you are. A+.
I'm the face of the Twins, I think.
That's it. You are. Hey, Giants got a win on Monday, but Blake Snell, he still has not won with his new squad. Gave up 3 earned in 4 innings. His ERA is still over 10. Now, let's remember, he signed right before the season started, so no spring training for him. He had some very honest and poignant comments after the game.
There's nothing like you have to go to spring training. So hopefully, I mean, for me, I hope teams see that. And I mean, I don't know what Montgomery's doing, but I bet it's tough for him. Like, it's not easy. So I didn't face a big league hitter until I pitched my first game in the big leagues this year, and it's tough. You just have nothing to go off of. You're just kind of like, oh, let's see what we got. Faced 18-year-olds, but yeah, so it's all excuses, but it's the truth. Yeah.
Excuses or fair comments?
I think what he said is right. Like it is an excuse, but it is the truth as well. You can't simulate game speed. It doesn't matter who you're throwing to on the backfields of some junior college against, you just can't simulate pitching against big league hitters when, it means something. I know spring training doesn't mean something, but it means more than pitching on a backfield. Like you get the feel.
What are they going to say?
It's your fault. You should have signed earlier. But if the offers weren't there, we don't know what the offers were, when they got brought to him, any of that. Like we don't know any of that. So, I mean, it is the truth, man. And this is a guy, Blake Snell. If you look at his track record, April, May, June, those are his worst months. He gets better as time goes on. So, like he's had, like you mentioned, didn't face a big league hitter until he got to this first game of the season. He's got to take a little bit of blame himself because you have to overcome situations. People, if you get paid money like that, and like you have to figure it out. So I can understand why people see this or hear this and say, "Well, dude, like you're a big leaguer, figure it out." But there is validity to his statement. Like he didn't have the ramp up period, and I'd expect him, by the end of July, August, to be looking more like himself. His track record proves it, and he's not a 2-whip guy. Like, his whip's up there, but he's gonna be better for the Giants. And the Giants are surging right now. They need him.
Well, yeah, they definitely need him because there's guys falling left and right. I mean, their injured list is horrific.
But they're doing it right now, Chris.
So he said something interesting at the beginning of that clip, which was, I hope teams are paying attention. So teams are trying to get you for the best deal possible, just like you're trying to get the most money out of them, you and your representation. Do you think this will make teams hesitant to sign really good pitchers late in spring training? Because you know what? They are paying Blake Snell $31 million this year. They can't wait for him to get it going in July. Like, if they miss the playoffs by a single game, that could be one of those 5, 6, 7 starts that Blake Snell just wasn't Blake Snell.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they'll say, hey, you're not pitching in the big leagues until you have a full month of the minor league starts. Like something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Like they still get paid the full $31 million. So we're going to pay for you to go get ready. Like, I don't know. I wish Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery had been signed in January. I really do. I wish it's better for the sport. It's obviously better for those two teams in the NL West, and it's significantly better for the pitchers. Do you think Blake Snell likes getting his balls kicked in every 5 days? This has been an embarrassing start to his Giants tenure. He's not happy about it. And people say, well, it's your fault. You signed late. Once again, we don't know. This might have been his best opportunity to get the most amount of money coming off of a second Cy Young award. I can understand why he did it. I understand.
Is it guaranteed already he's going to pick up the player option? Is that like a...
No, because we've talked about this. If you shine
like one good month of baseball at the end,
I don't know if it's one. I think that it's not an 81 game split on the All-Star season, right? You get to like 90 games.
Yeah.
So if you have a great second part of the season, because it's not a full half, but if he's great from August on, I think he entertains the idea of leaving.
Real quick. April 4 ERA, May 4.57, June 4.4, then July 2.6, August 2.6, September, October 2.25.
Hey, just go to last year. 5.48 ERA and an 0-4 record after 10 starts. And he won the frickin' Cy Young. So you could say he's right on pace.
Right on pace. That's what he should have said. He should have come and said, I'm right where I fucking need to be.
He's right on schedule. All right, we still got a few more topics left, but first, a word from my buddy Trevor Plouffe.
Yes, today's episode is partially brought to you by Black Box Sports AI. It's our favorite tool to get the edge for MLB betting. One of the hardest things facing bettors is the lack of transparency in the industry. Black Box has fixed this by posting all their previous picks on the website, not just their winners. So if you see they're losing, they're going to put that out there as well. Their system hit on over 68% of the bets last season. So there's a lot of these coin flip odds you'll find with other providers. Black Box, like, nah, we hit at 68%. So level up your insights with the folks over at Black Box Sports. It isn't designed to work overnight. So they want you to follow the system for the rest of the season, and you'll see how effective it is. So stop tailing the moonshots and bet smarter with Black Box. Black Box Sports AI is the tool to bet MLB smarter. Get started by using code BASEBALL at blackboxsportsai.com for your first week free. That's code BASEBALL at blackboxsportsai.com. Black Box Sports AI, smarter baseball bets. Jake is using this, and he really likes it. So if that's not enough of an endorsement, I don't know what is. Back to the show.
The chat is on fire. Hushberger, to go back a couple of topics to Counsell, Hushberger in the chat pointing out that even Wayne Gretzky got booed in his return to Edmonton.
They don't boo nobodies.
Yeah, that is true. And intern Tommy, who lives in Milwaukee in the off-season from school because he's a college student, he went to the game yesterday. He said he saw a T-shirt with Counsell out on the back. Creative.
Oh, my God. Again, people, I want to see what you would decide.
All right, let's do this one very quickly. Jose Abreu was back in Houston's lineup for the first time since agreeing to head down to their spring training complex to find his swing. Former AL MVP did get a hit last night in their loss to Seattle. He's still hitting right around 100. How long, in your opinion, can the Astros stick with him in their everyday lineup before they have to make some sort of drastic move?
Who are they going to move to, I guess, is my ask.
Well, Singleton's been in primarily their first baseman.
Move on and straight up release him. $19.5 million owed this year, $19.5 next year. I think the playing time becomes a little bit more sporadic or something like that. But you got to give this guy, in my opinion, a chance to get right. So maybe to answer your question, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month. Say, okay, just run him out there. Let's see what we got. The problem is, man, they've kind of dug themselves a hole where you don't want to have somebody in there that's giving you nothing. But I think he's got enough of a track record. You saw at the end of last year, he kind of came on a little bit. And I say they dug themselves into a big enough hole, but they're still only 4.5 games out of the West.
They're in the right division this year.
So you almost want to say this. You almost want to say if you're the Astros, hey guys, around him, just step it up a little bit extra so we can let Jose get right. I haven't watched all their games. I've watched a bunch of his ABs. It's not great, I'll say that, but I've just seen him. I've seen him have so much success that I'm almost expecting him to figure it out a little bit. So, he went down, took his medicine, went down to the minor league complex and did what he had to do, and now he's back. You have to at least give him some time. You can't just say 1 week, 1 series. Like then you should have just released him already, right? Like if you made this whole commotion, sent him down, got his head right, all these things, now you got to give him some time. I would say a month.
They're going to give him time. You know why? Yeah. Yuli Gurriel, the year that they won the World Series, was their primary first baseman, played 146 games. He was really bad at some points. Now, he finished his year okay. 242 and a 647 OPS. But for a while there, he was really, really struggling. But they let him get out of it. Now, this is drastically different. We're talking about a guy that's hitting 100 and an OPS under 300, I think. So they're going to give him some time. I don't know what role money plays in their decision, but they can't release a guy who's going to make almost $20 million next year. I just don't see.
Yeah.
I don't see Crane doing that. I think he's going to be there. And they're just thankful that they are in a division where neither Seattle nor Texas got their shit together.
If he struggles, because we're only through 80 plate appearances for Jose this year. You give him a month, and you say he gets another 100 plate appearances. Now we're sitting at 180 plate appearances, and it's the same shit. Then what do you do? Still stick with him and just put him on the bench, pinch hit?
Sore elbow.
And then what?
I don't know. We'll revisit in a month. Let's table discussion.
You can't release him, you're right, but you can, I guess, you send him down for the rest of the year. So then just have the offseason to get ready and say, hey, we'll see what we have in spring training next year.
Hey, so he went down to the Florida Complex League, and he played 5 games there and then 2 more AAA. Do you know those were his first minor league games ever?
Yeah, I do actually know that.
Yeah, he had never been on a rehab assignment, he went straight from Cuba to the south side of Chicago. This is an adjustment for him. And to his credit, like, he answered all the questions before the game yesterday. He was like, I was in a bad place. I lost my confidence. Seems like a really good dude. I've heard nothing.
Yeah.
Giolito couldn't say nicer things about him.
I love him, man.
Yeah.
He's great.
I hope he gets it back. I think it's going to be a challenge, though, at 37 years old. Like, we'll see. See if he can still hit the fastball. Real quickly on this one, Reds, they've won 4 straight after sweeping the Dodgers and taking the first of a series against St. Louis. But all the talk has been about this curious Reds celebration. Remember, they retired the Viking helmet. So now a guy hits a homer and he goes down the tunnel and some guys follow him. And apparently this is just for the boys. Do you like it that they're keeping this in secret? Or would you like to find out a little bit more about what's going on back there?
I want to see what's going on, but like it's fair for them to have something. And they retired the helmet. Didn't I see Stuart Fairchild put it on?
I read the
first
other
game
day
of the series.
Yes, but I think I read that they retired it. Luke Maley said, "Hey, that was for 2023's team. This is a different set of boys. We're going to do something different." That's what I read.
It's going to leak out. We're going to find out, people. We'll put some feelers out there.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Boy, this was a jam-packed show. Jam-packed show. I'm going to try and see if Angel Hernandez wants to join me on the Rose rotation. You think that'll happen?
Yes.
Why not?
Why not?
Angel, this is a safe space for you.
And make sure he knows that I gave him credit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a pile oner. You know that about me. Alek Manoah didn't pile on. Jose Abreu didn't pile on. Angel Hernandez didn't pile on.
Right.
I think only managers I pile on, I think.
Yeah. You pile on. Oh, God. You're not speaking at the managerial convention in the office.
No.
I don't even know what you guys do. Why are you guys important? Why do you show up to work?
I don't say that, but kind of.
All right, we're back at it again on Wednesday. We're going to go probably right around 12:15 Eastern, 9:15 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget, get your factor question of the weekend by Thursday night so that we can use it on Friday's show. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rohr, intern Tommy, and my main man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday on Baseball Today, presented to you by Factor.